All right, so if he's not available, Miss Ray, Azariah, can you pray us in, please?
Okay. Hold on. I was about to pull off real quick. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Okay.
You hear me? Okay.
Is you playing or is you high? Hey, anyway, that's not what I asked you to do, but I'm gonna pray. Listen to the real Hebrews. Tadarabah, Abinu, Elohim, Eloheinu, Tadarabah, for this day that you have given us, Father Yah, for allowing all of us to even make it into this moment. We pray, Abiyah, as we gather and as we dine upon your word, that you reveal to each and every one of us, Abiyah, what it is that you would allow us to see, that we may be better for it. Forgive us of our trespasses, O Yah, that we may be seen as pleasing before your sight. Workers of your righteousness, Father Yah, and not of our own. So we say, Toda Rabbah, Baruch Hashem. Amen. So, so a question for today is, what is mourning? What does it mean to mourn? Azar.
I just muted him down.
Toda. Can somebody please tell me what mourning is?
I'm gonna give it a go, Don. I would say, it's like a feeling or expression of, a sorrow for losing like a lost one. Is one of them deep, the sad feelings when you lose someone. I yield.
Okay. Um, what occurs when you mourn, and what does that have to do? Oh, okay. By yourself, you got a big hand. Yourself.
Okay, I'll actually say I yield because I actually want to hear the second part of your question. That way I can kind of better answer the question. Yeah, you hear me?
I said, yeah. I said that you want to hear the second part so you can cheat.
No. All right, so I give my interpretation of mourning. For me at least, and I'll try to make it as real as possible. Mourning to me is it's almost like a recovery. It's like a time frame of recovery from, like Adon said, losing a loved one, losing someone that was precious to you at that moment in time. Uh, well, I guess it also depends on the person, how much significance they had on that person, the one that passed, and the resolve of the other person, the one that is going through the mourning. It depends on the length of time of mourning. Let's say it like that.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, Azar. Now we couldn't hear you. Well, we could hear the KHM mixtape, but we couldn't hear you. Um, it's
Salakli.
not
Salakli.
called, so you know that's a great mixtape. But would you like to chime in though, as far as the morning?
Um, it depends on which interpretation. Are we talking about as far as death is concerned, and that, well, not necessarily death, but that time of grieving when something terrible happens, and
Mm.
we need that time of recovering. So it's time for us to process what has happened, and therefore process it, take it in, go through all the steps of healing, and then recovering from that. Or if you're talking about as far as the word that they use for rising or morning, as in when we wake up and we see the first light.
Um, uh, not bouquet. Um, you kind of said something in your but go ahead though. Go ahead though. Now that I clarified that, go ahead. Not bouquet.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So then I see it as a time to process. It's a time of grieving and processing in order for you to heal.
Okay, cool, cool. So now let me go into a scripture. I mean, to kind of back that up, and then I have a question. So we are talking about mourning. Well, let me read the scripture first. So let's go to Bereshit, commonly called Genesis chapter 37. So we're going to Bereshit, commonly called Genesis, starting at verse 37. So I'm gonna start at verse 33. So Genesis 37:33. And he recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. An evil beast has devoured him." So this is when the brothers have conspired to lie to their Abba in regards to Yosef. 33. And Yosef is torn to pieces. And Yaakov tore his garments and put sackcloth on his waist and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters, which is interesting, but anyway, arose to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted. And he said, "Now, let me go down into Sheol to my son in mourning." So his father wept for him. And the Midianites had sold him into Mitzrayim, to Potiphar, an officer of Paro, and captain of the guard. So what do y'all see there?
I'll give a go at Adon. I see Yaakov was mourning for Yosef. You know, all the sons and daughters was comforting the Abba when the Abba was mourning behind Yosef.
Dang, dang. So you see the deception of the brothers, you see the lie, you see Yaakov mourning, right? So now we're going to talk along the lines of the same thing, but kind of shift it, right? So What would be the Hebrew? Well, yeah. What is depression? And what does that have to do with mourning? What is depression? And what does that have to do with mourning? Just for you, e-brick scholars. Oh, okay. I see hand. Go ahead,
Yourself,
yourself, and then yeah, I got you. Yourself, you got Azar.
Uh, hmm, it's a touchy. I say first and foremost, it's a touchy subject, but I like it. But only reason why I say that because I've been there, and I would say in regards to mourning, depression is more of the effect. Hold on, quick out. Hey, be quiet. Depression is more of the it's the aspect of mourning, but you can't recover out of that. So that deep, just like Adon Azar said, that grieving process, how the mourning is supposed to be a process. You're trying to crawl out of that that hole that is there. But depression is that point of where you can't crawl out of it yourself. You can't do it yourself. Like I said, speaking from personal experience, I've been there. I know exactly how that feels to lose a loved one, to grieve, and not to be able to climb out on your own.
Azar. Okay. 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 So that's a great low the bar. Okay. That's a great answer, Key.
and
Um,
I want to say I second that with yourself with depression and mourning. You know, due to we I lost one. You know, I lost one almost 2 years now, my brother. So it was kind of depressing, and it was sad for mourning around the same time. So they kind of like you said, depression and mourning. It different, but they kind of have some similarities. Due to depression is like feeling sadness and loss of interest, which stops you from doing your normal activities. And mourning is something like that too. That you'll be mourning and it make you feel like, look, I just don't want to do nothing right now. I lost a loved one, but it's hard to come from depression than mourning. That's how I would say it was different from depression and mourning. When you depressed, um, I remember years ago I went through a deep depression that I was drinking too much. So I know how it is with depression, similar to mourning. I yield.
okay. So I want to read something real quick. Okay. So both answers are very told. So Hebrews, of course, we have a mourning period, right? So we have a mourning period uh in which I'm gonna break it down based on what has been written in regards to it, right? So it says that there are 5 stages of mourning. You have the aninut, which is a pre-burial mourning. So it's right after the death and right and is so it's between the death and the burial, right? That's the aninut. Then you have the shiba, Sheba, which is a 7-day period following the burial. The first 3 days of that 7-day period are the most extreme days, right? And then you finish out. Now, the fourth and fifth stages of it, uh, they vary. So the fourth stage is a 30-day mourning period, and then if it goes any longer than that, like say a parent has passed away, then you have a year. So the fourth and fifth stages are just uh, extensions of the time of mourning, right? All right. So let me read some of the symptoms of it. So during this period of mourning, um, they don't wash, they they don't change clothes. Uh, they normally don't wash up. Um, they don't even read Torah. They don't listen to music. Um, they don't listen to music. They they really don't necessarily eat. It says one of the most fundamental laws of mourning is the prohibition of working and business during Shiva. So the person who is mourning, they are prohibited from working and doing business, right? But during a time of mourning, that's not necessary. We don't necessarily go to work. So work usually gives you time off, right? And they don't leave the house for that whole week. So these are the customs of mourning, but they also sound like a description of depression, right? So, question: uh, Do you follow? Well, how do we respond, or how do we mourn for the death of expectation? How do you mourn for the death of your expectation? Because so I, past 2 months, well, really, past 2 3 months, it's been the most I it's showing me now that I had a mini episode of depression, or and when I looked up or tried to look up the aspect of depression, he showed me that you were mourning. You were mourning something that occurred. You mourned, and you were in a sense of mourning because of the death of what you wanted. What you wanted didn't occur, so you began to go into depression over it, which prevented you from doing your job and in regards to your household, in regards to your job, in regards to connection. Because of you mourning, you neglected everything that I put you in charge of. So then my question to the brothers, that is the most High brought it to my attention. I just wanted to bring it to our attention in terms of how do we deal with the death of expectation. Or has anybody had the 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 aspect of mourning something that you wanted to happen? You wanted a job to come through, but it didn't come through. Your hopes was up, but then when it didn't come through, you kind of became down yourself.
Kane. First thing that comes to my mind in regards to expectations was well, I wanted to go to high school. Oh, sorry, I wanted to go to college and play football. Ultimately, obviously, go to the NFL. Um, in my mind, I'm gonna say like I thought I was very good. I had a lot of recruiters scout me for the tight end position, uh, big time colleges and everything like that. But due to my ignorance, obviously at a young age, running around doing whatever I wanted, uh, those expectations that I had ended up falling by the wayside. Uh, right after high school, I took a year off right after I left out of high school, and then I joined the Navy right after that. But that year in between, yeah, I can say that now. I can honestly say I was pretty depressed during that time frame because I just didn't have anything to do because I had my whole thought process set on I'm gonna go to college, uh, play college ball, do the best that I can, and grind out to where I have an opportunity to go play in the NFL. Obviously, that didn't work out, and I'm here with these lovely, wonderful brothers here talking on the line and sharing my testimony.
Hey, hey, is I went to Yaakov because Kang Shlomo. I can't.
Hello, can you hear me?
Kang.
All right. The first one is that I've been doing this for quite a while now. I'm going to talk about what's going on in the aspect or anything.
Oh, you break it up a little bit, I think.
Can you hear me now? Because I'm at work, so I can't really have my phone in my hand, so I got to do the Bluetooth.
I got you.
Okay. I'd say for me, a lot of my life has kind of been down this track, you know. I kind of really didn't set up much for myself coming out of school, so I just kind of worked my way up. And so eventually I got to this whole security thing, trying to, you know, get somewhere with this, but, you know, it was, you know, slow or whatever, but I finally got, you know, the kind of opportunity that I've been looking for. And, you know, things were starting to get a little bit better, things were starting to progress, and then the next thing I know, you know, everything came to a standstill to the point where, you know, last week, and a lot of y'all that actually know me, you know, I don't like asking for help or taking things from anybody, but I had to get some help from, you know, True Light, from Moy Daru, or, you know, whatever the case was. You know, that's something that, you know, hurts me because I like to be a help to people. I don't like having to ask people for help or going to people with my problems, but, you know, I can say Toda Yah that he, you know, put brothers around me to look out for me when I'm going through something. And, you know, as more of the Oud knows, I got a pretty good opportunity, but I'm kind of waiting on security clearance to come through. So that kind of put everything to a halt. So, you know, I had a decent job. I left that to go through training, paid training. And then after that, nothing. So I kind of sat at home, you know, trying to put in little applications here and there to try to, you know, get them to mind the gap while I'm waiting for that to come through. And it just wasn't coming through. And I can't honestly tell you when it is. You know, that's something I prayed about. You know, I kind of lamented over because, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, yeah, you brought me so far just to kind of put me in the holding pattern. And, you know, I know it's just a test of something that, you know, the most I want to see how I react to it. You know, like how Yo went through his situation, and that's something that I looked at throughout this time. But, you know, I will say that the most I did put good brothers around me to help me out, and I was able to find something to kind of help me out until that comes through. It's not, it's not ideal, but, it's something just to keep me up on my feet and to help me get to you know, hopefully that next point that the Most High has put in place for me. But as far as depression and, you know, morning expectations, I really went through a week, I'd say last week or week before last, where I kind of noticed, like, yeah, I'm actually kind of in a state of mourning based off of what we're talking about. A little frustrated, a little sad, you know, asking questions like, what did I do? What can I do to change this? Or, you know, why is this happening? And I always have to go back to, you know, the examples that we have in Torah and now, you know, this happened to our forefathers from time to time, you know, and you just gotta go through it and then pray that you have, you know, people around you that can help talk you through it or lift you up. So I just want to say Todah to Yah for putting, you know, our brothers around me and just giving me something to keep my head up with, because it's kind of been difficult to do so, but I know Yah's not going to leave me stranded in the wilderness. So how are you?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, now, I believe I can speak to everybody when I say that we all here for you. Okay. And that's something that I believe has happened to all of us if we actually sit and contemplate. Right. So I went to Yaakov because Yaakov became Israel, and he was on a high note. And from that moment, for 13 years, everything was on pause for him. Even when we read this day, he said, well, let me just go down to the grave and mourn, as in, I'm never going to get over this. I don't really, I got 11 other sons. Like everything around him, even what he had, the blessings that the Creator gave him, none of that mattered. Because his expectation was, I'm going to give all this to Joseph. He is the next in line. And now that that's going, I don't know how to recover. But that's not the way that the Most High is putting these things together. We're going to have times of mourning. Right. So even in the process of mourning that I was talking about earlier, it said that after 30 days, right? 30 days or a year, but a year at a max. And that's only if your parents die. That after that, you have to get up and get back to what you were doing. So typically it's a 7-day period. You have to get up and get back to what you were doing. Because if not, then that grief is going to hold you. And it's going to prevent you from seeing everything that the Most High is placing before you in order for you to rule over or have dominion over. And things are going to start breaking down around you. Relationships are going to start being stretched and so on and so forth. All these things occur because you were in a state of mourning longer than what you were supposed to be. I want to go to 2 Shemuel, chapter 12. So 2 Samuel, chapter 12. So this is after the Nabi or prophet Nathan came to Melech David in regards to his dealings with Bathsheba. Right? So 2 Shemuel, chapter 12, verse 13. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against Yahweh. And Nathan said unto David, Yahuwah also hath put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. Howbeit, because of this deed, thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Most High to blaspheme. The child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. And Nathan departed unto his house, and Yahuwah struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. David therefore besought Elohim for the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night upon the earth. And the elders of his house arose and went to him to raise him up from the earth, but he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the 7th day, a week, that the child died. And the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, Behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? But when Dawid saw that the servants whispered, Dawid perceived that the child was dead. Therefore Dawid said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is. And then Dawid arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Most High, and he worshipped. Then he came to his own house. And when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive. And when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who can tell whether the Most High will be gracious to me, that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore shall I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. So we see here a couple of things. One, we see, shalom, my kids, straight shalom. So we see that Dawid was for a week in a state of mourning, right? He didn't eat, he didn't change his clothes. Most of the time, they said that you don't even cut your hair during this period of time, which most of us have gone through that phase where, you know, you just, like, I don't really care about my appearance. I ain't changing my clothes. I ain't cutting my hair. Like, all of this is a sign of mourning. But you're mourning something that is dead in your mind. So after that, he's in the state of mourning, but after that week or that period is over, then he gets up and he goes back to gets back to business. I want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 30. It's probably one of my favorite scriptures. Chapter 30, right? Yeah. So the backdrop for this is Melech Dawid. He's in the Philistines, or the land of the Philistines. The Philistines are going to fight against Israel. He goes as if he's going to go fight against Israel. The princes of Philistine, the Philistines sent him back. His village is raped and pillaged, and the wives and children, all that stolen. So this is where we find ourselves, right? First Samuel chapter 30, and we're gonna start at verse 5. And Dawid's two wives were taken captives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal, the Carmelite. And Dawid was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people were grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But Dawid encouraged himself in the Most High Elohim. Here's why I like this, because it's the aspect of encouraging yourself or strengthening yourself. Strengthening yourself in the Creator. That's how you get out of that state of mourning. You turn your focus back to the Most High and allow Him to open your eyes again to see all the things that are not dead but are actually alive and very well in your life. So after you bury your dead, you bury that expectation, you bury what you thought would be, now you move forward in what is. And you deal with that accordingly. And the Most High places people in your life and opens up doors in your life for those things to manifest once you get back focused on what He has called you to do. So just to sum it up, we have to get out of this stage of mourning, because right now we are in a very crucial time period in our nation. So everything that we thought should be, if it's not, we have to take that time in order to digest what occurred, digest even our wrongdoings that may have led to that death. And then we ask the Creator to strengthen us so that we can get up and do what we got to do. And with that, Toda Rabah, Achim, for your attention. Toda Rabah to the Most High for His word. And I'll open up the floor. Yes, sir.
Kane, first and foremost, wow, Toda y'all for putting this on your heart, for bringing this out. I said it earlier, like I said, it was a touchy subject because I've definitely been down that road before, more times than I can count. I put in the chat, I was like, when you were going through the methodology for almost like a recovery phase, it kind of reminded me of an injury, kind of like how when you get severely injured physically, you know, your body does go through a form or a state of mourning. And then you go through rehab, which is that state of building yourself back up. That's what kind of reminds me of the time frame of 30 days and a year. And I say that to tie it in, you know, that mourning process. It's a spiritual injury that you take, especially losing a loved one, losing family members like that. You know, you're spiritually injured, so that's a time of healing and recovery for you. Try to basically heal and get back to the state that you once was, if not even stronger, because some injuries, depending on what it is, you know, it heals stronger. You know, so. Kane, I do appreciate you bringing that out. I will always say, because you beat me to it, you know, fortify yourself in the Most High. That's one of the things that, and Shalom brought it out about Eob. He recognized that, you know, the turmoil and the things that he was going through, the trials, it wasn't for naught. It was the Most High establishing these things in his life. So once you understand that it's ultimately coming from the Creator, which we understand already that He is the creator of both Tov and Ra, you know, we have a better appreciation and an understanding of the things that we're going through during that time of mourning. It's okay to mourn, it really is. But again, speaking to myself, to allow yourself to sink into a state of mourning where you can't come back from that depression, that's the state that you don't want to be in. That's the state that you would ultimately have to rely on your brothers to pull you out. You can't strengthen yourself in order to do something like that. You know, again, like I said, Toda Rabah for bringing out this lesson, and I love it. I love every second of it. I yield.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All praise to the Most High, Toda Rabah, Achim. Even for your input. And yeah. Anybody else? Azar, Shalomo. I'm sure that's Hanakia out of the True Light banner. I'm not sure. Uncle Beck.
I second that motion with yourself. It was a told lesson. It brought out some things that I went through too in the past. So, told out for the lesson, dog.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Well, one thing I do want to share though about depression, that it causes illness, causes sickness. Because once you depress leads to stress, and stress leads to raising your blood pressure and all type of health issues, and it kind of you probably not recover from it, you know. my brother, he didn't recover. He was depressed and stressed, and that raised up his pressure and killed him in his sleep. So depression is a real serious issue, illness, and when you're going through that, it's good that you can rely on your brothers or your family, to try to lift up the spirits, man. So told out for you brothers that when I was going through my morning, I was able to count on you brothers and my Mr. Cott. So told out for the lesson again.
Hallelujah. Okay, Aki. Hey, we in a sense, we have to be the strong walls for each other, and like you were saying, that the aspect of you know mourning or depression and how that breaks down your body and breaks down your mind, and it leaves you open for both physical and spiritual degradation. You it leaves you open for deterioration in both regards. So I know that's something that we don't talk about within our community, because men supposed to be strong and be able to overcome all obstacles, but we see that even some of our strongest forefathers uh, had to go through that time. And if it wasn't for the Most High, then they would have. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Uh, Anybody else? Okay, say some more. It's it's one that most people don't want to talk about. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, I was my wife kind of brought it to my attention how I let some things, a lot of things slip, and I didn't. You don't. You try to work through it so you don't notice it, but if you don't acknowledge it, it's that does more damage. Because then you doing nothing but sleepwalking. Are you doing sleepwalking? But, okay. Well, my Isha obviously out of the Nashim's lesson, so I'm a mute and uh extend the floor one more time. Okay, Yosef.
Cam, you said something real quick that kind of poked my interest with. So, in regards to those topics, and I know Murray Samak will kind of attest to this because he likes to bring these things out. It's I'm almost to that point right in my life where that it's to the point we need to start talking about those things that are quote unquote sensitive topics, because we're in a state of our minds right now where we've been so indoctrinated, and I'm gonna harp on what you said. We've been so indoctrinated that we're supposed to be this macho, uh, egotistical, and everything like that. Everything under the sun that's supposed to be a male, right? This is a part of being a male, being able to at least be quote unquote man enough to be in touch with your feelings, to be uh, homing into those types of feelings. Otherwise, what leads into that deep depression is holding all that stuff in, not being able to let that stuff out because you're trying to be that macho figure and you're holding it all in, trying to puff your chest in front of your brothers. No, 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 no. You're more of a man when you're able to express those things to your brothers and they see that. That's when the door gets opened up for your brothers, for anyone really to come in and to be that strong wall for you. I would rather somebody do that for me by trying to hold that back. and then ultimately hurting themselves more in the long run later on down the ladder. So that just poked my interest there.
Right. Right. Someone said, I know personally, I don't want to feel like I'm burdening someone with problems when everyone has them. Plus, not everyone knows what to tell you. Okay. So that's a great statement in terms of the knowing who to be open with, right? So um the Mashiach had 12 disciples. Only 3 were able to see him transfigure. So you have to know who are those that you can express yourself to, who won't necessarily use it for your harm later down the line. But as far as the aspect of everybody has problems, okay, but all of us don't have problems at the same time. The Most High may have me in a good spot so that I can carry your burden. But if you don't tell me about it, then how can I help with that load? And you'll know who has that mindset because they'll ask you, what's going on? How can I help you? So you'll know who to go to because more than likely they're going to come to you. The Most High sends people to you in order to help carry what it is that you're trying to carry. So and we talked about that multiple times as far as you don't you're not a burden because you're a man that's on a walk with the Creator, in which some of those areas on your path are going to be dark. Some of those areas on your path are going to be full of obstacles. But each of us have been through many different types of obstacles, so we can help each other learn how to overcome them. So I would say just don't ever consider yourself a burden. But the aspect of humility comes into play when you do think like that. But that humility or that type of humility can sometimes get in the way of your deliverance. Because I didn't say anything. Meanwhile, things were falling apart around me silently. So if you don't catch it, then it's going to be, eventually everything's going to be destroyed. And then you're going to wake up and say, well, how did all this happen? Because you were in a state of mourning and you didn't recognize it or try to acknowledge it. So, are you? Well, what's up, Mr. Kai? If not, I'll tell you a little bit and then we'll go ahead and pray out. Okay. All hearts and minds. Um, just a side note, we like I was talking to Uncle Bet about, we are planning on getting together around the weekend of the 4th of July. Just because one, we can use that to our advantage because most people have off. Because we won't be celebrating it, but we'll be trying to get together here. So um, just kind of mark that on your calendar if possible. Okay. No heart smells clear. Father Yah, who searches the inner part of man and reveals it to that man, we thank you. Pray, Abba Yah, that you are constantly revealing yourself to us as well, that we may have something to aspire to. That when we fall, Father Yah, that you are there to lend a hand in the form of a brother or sister, Yah, in the form of a word, in the form of a deed, that we may return from Yaakov back to Israel. That we may not be fall into a state, Father Yah, where we place your mission that you have for our lives on hold. Or we forfeit your calling. But strengthen us, Father Yah, as you strengthen our forefathers. Continue to hold on to us. So that when we get weak, Abba Yah, that you empower us, Father Yah, to keep moving. That you show us the telltale signs, oh Yah. That we may be able to recognize it. And if we don't, Abba Yah, allow one of our brothers, Abba Yah, to lend a hand to us. Or show us who we can reach out to. We pray, Abba Yah, even for the nation. As we are going through these times, Abba Yah, in which the spirit of depression, Abba Yah, rests upon men. May you remove that weight. May we have the mental fortitude to endure. That we are not overcome by the waves, Father Yah, but as your anointed one and your servant was able to walk on water, Abba Yah, allow us to also walk on that water. Toda Yah. You are King. You are Elohim. Our shepherd who walks with us through the valley in the shadow of death. Who comforts us. And leads us, Abba Yah, through that dark time into your marvelous light. So we say Toda Rabbah to our King and our Redeemer, Yahuwah Zabaoth. Baruch atah Yahuwah, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, Baruch haba Hashem Yahuwah. Amen. All right, Achim. Lila told